From super middleweight to the Commonwealth Light Middleweight title fight here tonight. Jamie Moore, also the British champion, a man showing massive improvement but dogged by injury problems in the past year, deciding to meet a man studiously avoided by others here, hasn't stopped Ossie Duran from claiming the Commonwealth title at welterweight, here conceding almost 4 pounds inside the light middle limit at 11 stone. Here's the first bell.
Second judge, round one.
Red trunks for Jamie Moore, the southpaw from Salford, who's had bad problems, hand and wrist injury, which has meant he's been in pain, even trying to hit the heavy bag and sparring for a while. Happily, those problems behind him after some treatment in America, or he hopes they're behind him anyway. Let's see how they stand up to the fight. Commonwealth Light Middleweight Championship on the line here. Very good jab there from Ossie Duran. And you'll notice that Moore has got Marvellous written on his trunks. A new nickname for him, named after Marvin Hagler. He says a lot of people say he looks a bit like Hagler. Can't see it myself. So you've got Hagler against Duran here then, Jim.
What a return. I wonder if they're getting the same money in or out it. But the early stages are that Duran knows what to do with a southpaw. He's just stepping outside a Moore's southpaw lead and pinning him with the countering jab. Those are perfect tactics. If a southpaw misses with the jab and you step to your own left-hand side, you have him wide open. Duran's done it a couple of times already, so you can see the experience this fellow has picked up.
A little grimace there from Morden, if one just strayed low for a moment. I wonder what that was about.
I don't know if it's frustration. He's missing with his own jab at the moment, and he's been flicked with the counter. Not solid jabs, but they're accurate. I think just early signs of frustration.
It's a bit early for that, isn't it? There's a buddy punch which might just lift Moore a little. Confident look about Ossie Duran early on here, poking out his left jab. Looks like he knows what he's doing in there. Composed, cool, quite well seasoned now.
And again, he's moving to his own left. He's moving in a clockwise direction. That's what southpaws want to do. So Moore, sooner or later, is going to have to step across and push him in the other direction. But Duran boxing well in the early stages. Definitely signs of frustration from Moore. And as you say, Ian, it's a little bit early for that.
Yeah, way too early. Can be nailed and put on the floor, Jamie Moore. In fact, it happened on his debut. Claims to have relatives in Kilkenny and says he's got a kind of home advantage here. Not sure anybody's really buying that one.
See, the early problems he's having with the jab, he's trying to pounce with his attacks. You don't really want to be doing that. You want to solve this jab out. See, he's forcing himself, he's jumping at Duran, and that's not the thing to do with an acute southpaw. Sorry, a fellow who's outboxing your southpaw lead. So, signs of frustration even in his face now.
Yeah, eating that jab all night long.
Round two.
It's a good right hand there from Duran, who made his debut in Togo. And there's another one there that's...
I think that's... I don't know if it's his hand.
Yeah, no, it's just the hand causing him problems. He winced in the first round.
Yep, but that looked to me like...
Has it gone again?
Well, it was definite pain. At first I thought maybe he'd gone over in his ankle, but the way his arm went limp, I wonder if it's a shoulder. It's difficult to say, but there was obvious, serious pain there in Jamie Moore's face. And he's boxing orthodox, Ian. I think he's right. I think his right hand's away, Ian.
Well, there are various theories. One is that he's might have done his ankle some damage, a twisted ankle, and there's a report as well that he did miss a couple of days training with a hip injury. So make of it what you will, but he does not look happy in there, not at all.
He's turned orthodox. I've never known him to do that in any of his fights. He's turned orthodox. Why?
Yeah. This is a terrible start, really, for Jamie Moore. Just doesn't look at it early on here in this fight. Something's troubling him, that's for certain. And one of the things that's troubling him is Ossie Duran.
Well, if he's got one hand in, I don't reckon he's going to beat this fellow with one hand. We'll have to watch and see what he does with the right. He's throwing it, which means the shoulder's okay. I wonder if it's the knuckles or the wrist.
Or the ankle, possibly.
But why would he turn? Why would he turn orthodox? It's the fact that he's turned orthodox. I'm asking why.
Yeah. Suggests he's going to be favouring one hand, doesn't it? And it's the left he's using, not the right. So has that taken his southpaw lead away?
I mean, it was real pain you could see in his face. He wasn't quite facing us when it happened, but you could see the pain in his face when it happened, whatever happened.
Boxing one-handed at the moment with the left hand. I think it's a problem with his right hand. Duran will draw enormous encouragement from this. He is the natural light middleweight of the two, though. Moore, this might be one of his best ever wins if he can somehow conjure one from where he is now. This is an early crisis. Duran growing in confidence. I think he knows that Moore has certainly got a problem. He will have trained specifically to meet a southpaw, and he knows that he's switched to orthodox, and he's beginning to realise why, I think.
Well, I would imagine his corner must have spotted, if he hasn't.
He did throw the right there, or attempted to anyway. Moore. Well, it's a nightmare for him early.
Can I have the ice?
See what they do here.
It's okay, it's okay, I've got this.
You know what you do, brother? You know what you're doing in there?
Fucking sidestep him.
Well, he's in some pain, it's for certain.
Are you
Sidestep him
You're sure
and it
you're
just
okay,
went.
right? I'm going to look at you, so make sure you're okay.
Well, the referee knows there's a problem as well, because he went over to say, are you okay?
A drink.
Just let him come.
Yeah.
Just flick the jab, just touch him,
At first it looked as though it was the leg, but then you could see.
Well, the hip injury that curtailed some of his training, we're hearing from the corner now. We've done a bit of homework, and yeah, look at him holding his left hip. Well.
Yeah, well, but obviously he can't get purchase on his left leg, so he's turned to southpaw. He's turned to orthodox.
Seconds out, right knee.
Third round here. Let's go into the corner of Moore with Ed Robinson.
Oliver, what's the problem with Jamie Moore this evening? Oliver, what's the problem with Jamie Moore this evening?
He's hip. He did it in training, but he thought he'd be okay. But he's around the side there. He's twisted it, and he seems to have twisted it again in that round.
How serious is it?
Well, it's hurting him, but we've turned orthodox. We're going to try and box him that way.
Will he be able to continue with the fight and win?
I don't know.
Thank you, Oliver.
Well, that's revealing, isn't it? They're not confident at all. This is a crisis, a big crisis here for Jamie Moore.
Ian, he's just taken a couple of big left hooks as Ed was doing the interview there. See, the problem of turning orthodox, everything goes, your defences are not what they should be, the movement's not right, he can't get purchase in his own punches. Huge problems for Jamie Moore.
Looks dispirited as well, and the right hand, and I think the referee's going to stop the fight. He has stopped the fight. It is over. An absolute nightmare for Jamie Moore. It all went wrong from the word go, and Ossie Duran is Commonwealth Light Middleweight champion to add to his Commonwealth Welterweight title in an upset here.
Well, Ian, this was a tough match. As soon as the match was made, we knew Jamie Moore was going to have to be his best and his strongest to defeat this fellow. There was a confident look about Duran right from the first round. He was comfortable with his own boxing, with his own tactics. Then disaster struck with Jamie Moore. We don't know if it was his hip, his thigh, we don't know what's gone, but he's out of there and he was taking full-blooded shots.
Well, we do know, Jim, it was his hip. You heard the corner say that. It was a hip injury, a twisted hip, and I think from then he mentally threw the towel in. You could see that.
Yep, and his defences were scattered, so His head was down, you couldn't expect otherwise, but he was taking full-blooded shots. Duran caught him with a couple of beautiful left hooks over against the ropes. He was virtually teeing off on him. Everything has gone from Jamie Moore. He has an excuse, a good excuse, but he must be shattered at this moment.
Well, what a terrible time this is for the camp. Oliver Harrison had Anthony Farnell beaten unexpectedly by Eugenio Montero the other week. And now Jamie Moore, who's looked so good recently, really coming a cropper here in spectacular fashion.
See, he's probably never boxed orthodox in his life, so his defences have gone. He's taken full-blooded shots. That was about the 5th full-blooded shot of the round. Everything gone, and excellent refereeing from Richie Davis to get him out of there. He knew at the end of the previous round there was something wrong, so he was just waiting for the signs, get him out of there.
3rd round, and Richie Davis, who knew, good refereeing as you said, he knew there was a problem with Moore anyway, and at the first opportunity he was there to look after him. No more. I think he knew this was a losing night, no way back for Jamie Moore, who was carrying the bad injury anyway. But take nothing away from Ossie Duran. What a win for him.
Yep, and you can see in the first round the form he was about to show. Excellent boxing all the way through from Duran. But Moore turns orthodox because he couldn't get purchase on his left leg. And it was a disaster from that point on. No snap on his shots.
Jamie, commiserations, knocked out in 3 rounds by Ossie Duran. It looked a nightmare from the start, and then the hip went. Your explanation, first of all.
I haven't got one, to be honest. I was in there moving through a jab, step to the side, got shooting pain up my leg into me, sort of the side of my hip there in the back. I just couldn't put my weight on it. I had to switch orthodox. Oliver was shouting to me to switch orthodox to put the weight on my other leg, but I just couldn't get my shots off and anything.
Was it a problem that happened in training for this fight?
No, I mean, I was there in boxing in the ring, and all of a sudden it just went. I have no explanation for it whatsoever. To be honest, in the past I've had a bad back at the back, but it's nothing to do with my hip and my hips. Gone.
Oliver Harrison, you said to Ed Robinson then that it did happen in training, this problem with the hip. What about that?
No, he's been niggling on the other side here, rather than this side, but it's the other side what's gone on him. So,
was he fit to fight tonight?
Yeah, he was fit to fight tonight. He was ready. He could have gone 12 rounds, no problem.
And Tommy Gilmer, your assessment. We had a problem with Dale Robinson recently when he wasn't quite fit enough and he went through with a fight. Do you think Jamie should have been in the ring?
Well, you can only go. Jamie says it's happened in the ring. That's the first. When he's moved and he's got caught, you could see that he was obviously in pain, because you could see that he didn't even get caught with a punch in the first instant. And then in the second, because of the way he's got to disperse the weight, that he just couldn't get out of the way any punches.
Jamie, you've got no excuses. It happened in the 2nd round and there was nothing you could do about it.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. The mate's gone and that was it. There was nothing I could do about it. I'm absolutely sick as a parrot.
And what happens about the proposed Michael Jones fight for the British title, Tommy?
I mean, that's a mandated fight that's already, the board have already put out. So that's going to take place. So that'll be Jamie's next fight. And then obviously we'll have options on Ossie Duran. So we'll come back after the Michael Jones fight, we'll come back and fight Ossie Duran again and get it sorted once and for all.
Yes, first he's got to get him fit. He's having the luck of the devil, that young man at the Barry, isn't he?
2 things come to mind, Paul. The first thing is, that's a tough fight if he was in the best shape of his life. He wasn't. He had problems in training. And why didn't Oliver and Tommy pull him out after the 2nd round and save his humiliation and having to take a full-blooded shot in the 3rd when he obviously wasn't ready? Silly fight, silly matchup. I disagree with it.
Steve, was there any way that he could have lucked his way through it or just tried to avoid Duran?
Well, I think obviously it was a serious injury. They say the injury in training was a separate. It was the other hip, and it was the other hip, the right hip, I think you heard tonight. Jamie Moore is an ambitious guy. This is a tough fight for Jamie Moore. Jamie Moore wants these tough fights. If he gets through these fights, he'll improve as a fighter.
But given that we now know that there was an injury cloud over the young man, did his ambition get the better of him?
He had got an injury. The corner listened to him. He didn't complain. He didn't say stop the fight. He wanted to go on. But the corner, no, let me finish, Barry. The corner have to listen to the fighter. If a fighter says I'm okay and there's no obvious signs of pain, let the fighter go on.
But I disagree. There was an obvious sign of distress in the corner, and the corner's job is to consult the fighter and say, let's get him out. It's his decision as well, because at the end of the day, if he has a defeat like that, it damages him psychologically.
Let's hope he
never
comes
complained
back.
in the corner,
in fairness, Ossie Duran has not had much publicity, and this is his win.
Yeah.
Well, Ossie
He's
Duran
worth watching, isn't he?
Ossie Duran's a hell of a
Absolutely.
fighter. He's moved up from lightweight. He's fought at not a lot of weights. He's one of the most divided fighters in the weight division. And Ossie Duran is a good fight, a tough fight against any opponent.
Which weight, though? Welterweight or light
I'll
middleweight?
tell you what, he deserves a break too. He boxed fabulous tonight, and it's not his fault that Jimmy Moore wasn't in condition, and he just done what he had to do, and he was brilliant.
Absolutely, this was shaping up to be a great fight tonight.
Next up, popular Belfast.